today with Travel Beyond the Obvious, how to build your online presence and attract your ideal clients. Um, we'll get started in just a second. Since we're live streaming, I want to give a little time for people to hop on. I know sometimes it takes a little bit. Um, well, Madeline, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself really quickly and your team?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Madeline Jhawar. I'm the owner and founder of Italy Beyond the Obvious. So we've been creating custom vacations to Italy for 12 years now. And I've got one of my Italy Beyond the Obvious team members on here, Rebecca Wink, who is coming to us live from Assisi in Italy. And in over the years, people had told me that I had their dream job and said, please teach me how to do what you do. So I said, sure. So then in 2018, Devin and I launched a course called Travel Beyond the Obvious, and we teach people how to set up an online travel business. So Devin is here with us as well.
Hi. Pleased to meet you all.
Yeah, great to have you on. Madeline is also so essentially with her, we did a podcast with her on our travel agent chatter. And I can't remember the episode right now, but it's hostagencyreviews.com/TAC, and you can look for Madeline's name. And she goes over more in depth about how she uses lead generation and SEO with her Italy destination specialist to bring in leads, and that's what percentage of your leads come in from online, Madeline?
We're at half
Okay.
online and half referrals right now.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a great podcast to listen to if you find this. But we'll jump into how she does it in just a second. But before we get into that, if you are watching on YouTube, go ahead there. If you want to comment, there's a comment section, and Mary and April and Bridget from Host Agency Reviews are going to be in there. But if you haven't already, if you're having trouble commenting, click your little button, the icon with your face in the upper right-hand corner. It may not have your face up if you haven't uploaded a picture. But click on that, and then you're going to click on your channel, and then type in your first and last name, and you create a channel, and then you'll be able to leave comments on YouTube. And before we get started, we kind of want to hear who's in the audience. So let us know in the comments where you're from, how many years you've been in travel. And we'd also be curious, since we're talking about websites right now and using those for lead generation, if you have a website, and if so, do you have a blog attached to that? So without further ado, I think what we'll do is go ahead and get started. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then Madeline, if you want to kind of take over from here.
Okay, can I share my, I'll share mine.
Yeah, and I'll let you know when we can see it and everything.
Okay.
Rebecca, I have to say, I know you're muted right now, but the windows behind you are really just gorgeous.
I was actually worried that I look like I'm in prison. I would like everyone to know I'm not in prison. It's a very normal thing in Italy to have bars on your windows because they do have a little bit of problems with people breaking in, though that's not a problem that we have. But thank you. That's nice to know. I actually was looking at the background and I thought, it really looks like I'm incarcerated somewhere. I'm not incarcerated. Though I feel like it after 2 months, we're almost at 2 months of lockdown here in Italy. So we're starting to feel like we are incarcerated.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine.
It's okay, good food.
Okay, Steph, when we did the test, there was no problem sharing my screen, and now I'm not
Do you
sure.
see the present now button on the lower bar?
No, I do not.
Let me share my screen. I don't know if you'll be able to see the let's see. What we could do is if you want to email me over the PowerPoint really quickly. This is a little unorthodox, but I can download it really quickly, and then you can tell me when to advance the slides.
Sure. I'm not sure what I did yesterday that was different. Sorry about this. It was
That's okay.
really
Do you see the bar on the bottom of Hangouts?
mm-hmm.
And what are the options on there for you? Anything?
There's turn off microphone, leave call, turn off camera.
No turn on captions or present now.
There's turn on captions, change layout, full screen, switch camera, settings, report a problem, help. So guys,
that is.
I can totally email this to you.
Yeah, let's do that. And thanks everyone for being patient. Just having a minor technical difficulty. We'll be up and running in no time.
I would love to hear some of the comments that people are, if anybody is commenting about how many years they've been in business or where people are based.
Maybe while I'm looking for your email to come through and getting that set up, Devin, if you see anything in any of the.
Yeah, well, there's a very nice person from a company called Euro Travel Coach, Betsy Ball, who's one of our customers, actually. She's online. She's in Madison. She's Wisconsin, and she's been in the business 3.5 years. And she says she loves to learn from Madeline.
Oh, that's fantastic. You're a neighbor. I'm over here in Minneapolis, so.
Hi, Betsy. Thank you for joining us.
There's another one, Sandart Travel Advisors. Just started. Travel Advisor will have a blog soon, but work in progress. Connecting from Coronado, Panama.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's really good.
Fabulous. Did you get a chance to send that over, Madeline?
I did. I just sent it.
Okay. Waiting on it.
Yeah, sorry, we did this test. Everything worked smoothly. It was super easy.
That's, I have to tell you, that's like, not to make you feel any less nervous, but that's like the worst nightmare. Suddenly you're like, the button is gone.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happening, but
Here's Sarah Sullivan thinking about starting a business and wants to learn more. She's in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yay.
Hi, Sarah. That's exciting. Thank you for joining us.
All right, hold on. I've got it, and I've got it downloaded. So I'm just going to run over and share my screen really quickly. Let's do, oops.
Okay, Jeanette Robinson is in Tampa, Florida, 2 months into the travel industry. Welcome to the travel industry, Jeanette. And I'm working on a website for my business and do not have a blog yet. Oh, and there's Audrey DeMonte, one of our students and graduates. Welcome, Audrey. I'm glad to see you here.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, you should be able to see my screen now. So Madeline, if you want to take it away and then just let me know when I press the next button.
Okay, I do not see your screen.
You do not see my screen.
Hang on.
Yeah, you have to get the People tab open and then click on her, I think. That's what I just did to see her screen. So there's a way to see the list of the people in the meeting. And Stephanie Lee presentation should be at the bottom of it.
Aha. Okay, you
There
guys.
we go.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to build your online presence and attract your ideal clients. And this is a perfect thing to talk about during the coronavirus downtime that we all have. So let's talk a little bit about what this means. So, as Steph mentioned, at Italy Beyond the Obvious, we get 50% of our clients who find us online. And how do they do that? Well, that's what I'm going to share with you today. So, let's go to the next slide. I'm going to go quickly over my Italy team. So this is my Italy Beyond the Obvious team. We started Italy Beyond the Obvious in 2008, and Rebecca is here with us today. And we have another trip planner, Claudia, in Milan, and we have a project manager, Carolina, in Bogota. I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly because I want to get to the great content for you guys. In 2018, Devin and I founded Travel Beyond the Obvious, which is an online course where we teach people how to set up an online travel business. And the content that I'm going to be presenting today is from one of the lessons of that course. That's an 8-lesson course, and I've taken lesson 2 from that course, which is about how to find customers online, and we've adapted it for travel professionals. So let's move to the next slide. I just want to empathize, we're all in this together. The travel industry has been hit hard. My team in Italy right now is basically canceling trips. And so really I was thinking about what could I do to help? I have a lot of knowledge and background, and I know that, the travel industry right now, people have some time on their hands. It is a scary time, but think about life. Life is about the unknown, and we really have control this moment. So what can we do at this moment? We can work on our businesses. So let's go to the next slide. I want to, just share the Chinese symbol for crisis, which is danger plus opportunity. So danger is scary, but there's lots of opportunity out there, and that's what I want to focus on today. The travel industry will come back one day. The step-by-step process that I'm going to talk about today is going to help have an impact on your business for years to come. So this little guy here is what what a lot of people are doing right now. They're stressing out. What are they doing? They're doing nothing. And so we have an amazing opportunity to take advantage of this time. What else are they doing? Steph, head to the next slide. There we go.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing. All right, let's move on because I want to focus on the silver lining. We have a gift of time right now, and so let's be productive. We're going to share the webinar notes with you afterwards, and I'm going to go over a lot of content today. I'm going to aim to end with 10 minutes left for Q&A. So some of this stuff I'm going to go through pretty fast, but you guys are going to get a packet to take away with you. And for those of you that want to dive deeper and get my experience and my knowledge, I'm going to offer an incredible instant impact training for those of you that want to dive in and buy that. But right now I want to jump into some incredible content. So let's get going. Okay, next slide. So customers are searching for travel online. And I just want to share with you, let's go to the next slide. This is my Italy Beyond the Obvious Google My Business page. And I want you guys to look at the number at the bottom there, which is, I don't know if you can see it, that my Google My Business page at Italy Beyond the Obvious was viewed more than 400% more in March than it was in February. So people are not traveling, but they are dreaming of travel. They are searching for travel online, and I am getting more hits now than ever. And I want you guys to take advantage of this time. This is an amazing time in e-commerce history right now. You need to be online. So my question for you is, let's go to the next slide. Will your customers find you?
Oops.
That's okay. Let's go to the next slide. So I just want to emphasize, this is a really, really big opportunity right now. You need to get online and you need to make sure that those customers can find you because they are out there searching for you. Let's go to the next slide here. I mentioned this before, but 50% of our customers find us via searching online. And by the way, we don't pay for that. We don't spend money on Google ads or Facebook ads or any ads. And so I'm just going to talk. That's what the topic is today. For the other 50% at this point, after 12 years in business, are referrals. Let's go to the next slide. So this time is really forcing us to be creative. It's going to allow you to add legs to your business that will continue after this crisis is over. And you will get to the other side stronger. So I'm going to share a couple of stories because I want you to understand how this can work in your business. And here, the next slide is somebody who's on this webinar right now, Betsy Ball. And Betsy joined us to do our Travel Beyond the Obvious 8-lesson course. I think she started a year ago. She's the founder and owner of Euro Travel Coach. And she says that the knowledge and experience of the Travel Beyond the Obvious team, in addition to the support of our amazing community, have allowed Betsy to grow a successful business. And she actually did the course twice.
Oh, wow.
She did the full course. Yeah, she did the full course, which is more than 10 hours of video, did the whole thing once, and then went back and did everything again. So let's move on here a second. So I just want to focus on, I understand where you guys are. You've maybe been working for years. You've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into your business. You've got families depending on you. You've got customers depending on you. You've got employees depending on you. And I know there's a lot that probably feels like it's on your shoulders right now. So what we're going to talk about today is going to take some of that pressure off your shoulders, I hope. So this is, let's go to the next slide. This is a 4-part webinar, and part 1 is 6 ways customers find you online. Then we're going to talk about how to position yourself as an expert. Part 3, I'm going to go over really fast because it's basically going to be 9 tips for great online content. And I'm going to give you a checklist, and that's a takeaway for you in your takeaway packet. And then part 4, we're going to talk about your online footprint. So I'm going to show you how to do all this. It's going to be a lot of content. You're going to have that packet. And then if you'd like us to hold your hand and dive in with you step by step, you can stay with us to the end and you'll have that opportunity to do so. Okay, number 1. So the number 1, or one of the 6 ways that customers find you online, is Google Ads. And so in this example, I'm doing a Google search for free stock photos, and just click Steph, and just do 2 clicks. And
Okay.
you can see what's highlighted there are the top 2 results in Google, and you can see that those are ads. So we'll get to this later. I don't recommend that anybody starts out by spending money on ads because they're expensive and there's all sorts of details that you need to know. But just so you know, Google will put that at the very top of the search. If I search for free stock photos, the first 2 entries that come up are going to be those paid ads. Let's go to the next slide. The next thing that comes up is a Google My Business page. And so I'm going to search here for Menlo Park Travel Agent, and you can see, just click once, Steph. Italy Beyond the Obvious is right up there at the top. And that is because nobody has taken out a paid ad for Menlo Park Travel Agent. So the Google My Business listing comes right at the top. And I want you guys, if you do not have a Google My Business listing, when you finish this webinar, go set yourself up. And as you can see, it's a function of Google Maps, but you don't need to be on Google Maps. I have mine set up with no address. And you'll also note there that it's a fantastic place to get customer reviews. So Italy Beyond the Obvious has 15 5-star reviews. It's a great place to ask customers to leave you online reviews. Let's go to the next slide. So number 3 of the 6 ways that customers can find you online is a search to your website or your blog. And so this is, if you type in Italy limited traffic zone into Google, my article comes up. And I just want to point out, I wrote this article in 2009. So this is what I mean by the work that you do today during your coronavirus downtime can have a really lasting impact. This blog post is more than 10 years old, and it still comes up on the first page of Google when people type in this search result. So I'm going to do one more example of this Google search to your blog. Just go to the next slide, please. The other thing to consider in the travel industry is we have a huge advantage because we have pretty photos. And so here's another example of a blog post I wrote. If you type in which town to stay on the Amalfi Coast, those photos that appear at the top, the one that has the square around it actually links to a blog post that I wrote. So if someone clicks on that photo of Positano, they go straight to my blog. So that's where you want to get yourself found. And I'm just going to click one more time, Steph. If you go down that page about the Amalfi Coast, my actual blog post does appear down the page on that same first page in Google. So this is free. This is just a matter of writing good content, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, let's go to number 4 on how Google can find you online. This is social media, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there are so many people out there who know so much more than me about social media. But I would just say if you have no social media, pick a couple. Pick, Instagram and Facebook and set yourself up. And we can give you advice on that. I used to get overwhelmed with social media, and I literally would say, okay, I'm going to do Instagram for 10 minutes on Monday, and LinkedIn for 10 minutes on Tuesday, and Facebook for 10 minutes on Wednesday, and Twitter for 10 minutes on Thursday, and Pinterest for 10 minutes on Friday. And
They're dark holes. They're dark holes you can go down.
oh my gosh. Yeah, I would get so overwhelmed and do nothing. And so I just set myself these little teeny increments of time. And let's go to the next slide. If you are comfortable on video, go for it. This is a video world right now. So if you can do Facebook Lives, post videos on LinkedIn, do IGTV, get yourself a YouTube channel, go for it. I know not everyone is comfortable on video, but if that's a strength of yours, you can really get a huge return from that. And the 5th way, let's go to the next slide, thanks. The 5th way that people can connect with you online is by signing up for your email newsletter. Here are some email newsletter providers that I recommend: Constant Contact, Active Campaign, MailerLite. I have MailChimp on there because that's what I use, but my friends who run SEO companies tell me that MailChimp is not as good as the other ones. This is important. This is the way that you directly communicate with your list. If you have a Facebook fan page, Facebook can change the algorithm and essentially cut you off. But when you have an email list, you always have a direct connection to your customer. Okay, the 6th way people find you online is just online content. So let's click through some of these. These are just places that I've appeared online, and they're just me pitching to journalists. And, this one on the left here where it says in Menlo, that is a very small town newspaper. And so, anything counts. You don't have to pitch to the Wall Street Journal or, Travel and Leisure. So get connected with these people online, and maybe you can write guest posts. Maybe you can pitch something interesting and get invited to either be interviewed or do a guest post in online media. And you can see, actually, I have my HAR in the bottom left-hand corner. I have one of the
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, another big thing right now, let's go to the next slide, is podcasts. And so I love podcasts. I have been featured on many podcasts. And actually, at Travel Beyond the Obvious, we host the Travel Business Owners podcast. So that's a great one. If you're comfortable on podcasts, get out there and start pitching yourself. Okay, so to summarize, let's go to the next slide. This is going to be in your packet. So to summarize, here are 6 ways that customers can find you online. And where you see the Travel Beyond the Obvious logo in the right-hand corner, that's going to be in your takeaway packet. So right now, I want to focus on, just click once, Steph. I'm going to focus on the organic search to your website or your blog. So let's go to the next slide. This is going to have the biggest long-term impact is if you create useful content where customers who are doing Google searches will find you and find your content. And so this is what I'm going to focus on right now. So if you don't have a website, you can still set up a Google My Business. You can still have a Facebook fan page. You can still be on LinkedIn. You can still be on Instagram and all of that. But meanwhile, you do need to start setting up a website if you don't have one. And you do need a place where you can put content on that website. So a blog, ideally. So I'm going to just recap here before we move on to part 2. So let's just go to the next slide. Here's your to-do list. Set up a Google My Business, create a business Facebook page if you don't have one, set up an email newsletter, and they're free up until you get, I think, 2,000 subscribers or so. And if you haven't started already on a website, get that ball rolling or get a blog on your website. Okay, let's move to part 2. So now you want to position yourself as an expert. And so how do you do that? We're going to talk about that right now. Let's go to the next slide.
I'm getting really good at this.
Okay, yeah, we're in a rhythm, Steph. You and
I know.
like I can't even see you. So that's fine. So what you want to do is take your expertise and understand what Google likes. And that candy in the center is the sweet spot. So you might have expertise that Google doesn't like, and Google might like things that you don't have expertise in. So you want to find that sweet spot where that overlaps. So let's go to the next slide. So you want to write what you know about, and I guarantee you everyone on this webinar has something that they can write about. Maybe you are a Disney expert. Maybe you know about honeymoons. Maybe you know about the US national parks. Maybe you have a destination expertise, like you know Paris like the back of your hand. Maybe you know cruise ships and can tell people about which cruise lines or which ships are better. Maybe you're an expert in family vacations. And let's not underestimate, many of us travel professionals, when we've been in the business a long time, we don't realize how much we know about, to the photo in the upper right-hand corner where the woman is sitting with a suitcase, how much you know actually that you can share about packing tips and cell phone tips and how much money to bring and time, jet lag tips and all of that stuff that isn't about an actual destination. So you actually have a lot that you can share, and you need to start brainstorming to come up with ideas. So let's go to the next slide. You want to really start thinking about what your customers are searching for. You want to put yourself in their shoes. You want to feel their pain because you are going to solve their problem. They're going to be thrilled to find you. Then let me tell you, we get people finding us on ItalyBeyondTheObvious.com. They've been searching. They're totally overwhelmed, and they find us and they're like, "Oh my God, we're so happy that we found you." Honestly, that's what you want. That's what you want. So before I move on, I want to, there's a couple of terms that I want to get into here before I talk about the ways that you want to have customers find you online. I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit. Let's go to the next slide, Steph. So just bear with me here. I think you can handle it. And I would love to keep helping you with this stuff. Anybody who feels like they're getting overwhelmed or anything like that, I'd love to help you with a training after this that I'm going to offer at the end of it where we will hold your hand as you walk through the process. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about two terms here. So one is SEO, which means search engine optimization. And all that means is that your content is going to be optimized so that search engines like Google send people to your site. If you have good SEO, Google will say, I'm going to send people to your website because your content is useful and amazing. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how to create this kind of content. But first, one more term is just be familiar with the term keywords. And keywords are actually, think of them as key phrases. So they're used to indicate the content of a document. And so when you're thinking about your sweet spot, what you're going to think about are keywords. That's what you are going to be brainstorming. And I'm going to help you. Think about what types of keywords you want to use. So, Steph, you're on it.
I'm really glad you're acknowledging this because I'm like, I think this is it.
Perfect. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to brainstorm keywords, and I just put an image of a key there to help you guys remember these are key phrases. I think keywords is a little misleading. They're key phrases. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. So having the right keywords will make Google basically like you. And I'm going to go back to these two examples that I had before. So if you type in Italy limited traffic zone and my blog post comes up, the keyword for this blog post is Italian ZTL fines. And so when you are writing your content, there's actually a field behind the scenes that the reader doesn't see. And you're going to type in your keyword there, and that's how Google's going to know. So it's a field that when I'm doing my Google search, I can't see what the keyword is. I have no idea what the keyword is of articles that I just find on Google. It's a field that you type in behind the scenes, and you're going to choose it. And then to do the second example, for the Amalfi Coast towns that I did for the blog post, the keyword that I chose behind the scenes that I typed into that field was Amalfi Coast towns. So those are the two keywords I used. I want to go into the secret of keywords here. Now, the secret of a keyword is just click once, Steph, is you want to have a descriptive phrase. So when people search for shoes, that's not super helpful. When people actually search on Google, they actually search for, Black women's running shoes. And so you want your keywords to be as close as possible to what people are actually searching for. And that is what gets you what they call long tail SEO, which means that it has a long life because it's super specific and it actually accounts for 70% of searches. So the people that try to use shoes as their keywords, they get kind of pushed out by everyone else who's searching shoes. But if you have something that's more descriptive, it's going to be a better fit for what your customer is actually searching for. And I'm going to go into some examples here in a second about what are some good long tail keywords. So the other thing you want to do is think evergreen, and that means evergreen content. So you write it once, and just like my blog post from 11 years ago, it's still relevant. The Italian driving laws have not changed that much in 11 years. And so what I wrote 11 years ago is still relevant. And of course, I do go back and just double check that what I wrote is still relevant. But you want to think evergreen, get yourself into the mentality of creating evergreen content. And that's why this coronavirus downtime is so perfect right now. You've got this window of time. I don't know how many more weeks of this we have before the travel industry really gets up and running again, but we can use this time and it can have a really long lasting impact on your business. So the evergreen is, let's flip to the next slide. Not this one. Okay, let's go through some keyword examples. When I say these are bad keyword examples, I just mean that if you write content online with these keywords, it's going to be very hard for you to get to the first page of Google. So if you are writing a keyword like you're using Greece vacations, luxury honeymoon, France tour, family travel, best Caribbean beaches, those you're going to be competing with people that have large ad budgets, and it's going to be really hard for you to get to the first page of Google. Just click once there, Steph. The last example is just not evergreen. So that is very specific, and it might be what someone is searching for, but on June 30th of 2020, it's going to be irrelevant. So think evergreen and think long tail. So next, I'm going to talk about a few good examples. So this could be a 3-day Athens itinerary for families, a travel professional's tips for picking shore excursions, my 3 favorite boutique hotels in Nashville. These types of things are what people are actually searching for. And I've also got a mention of the URL here. And again, this is a little bit into the weeds. For those of you that want us to hold your hand creating this kind of stuff, I'll go into more detail about the training we're going to offer. But these are examples of the keyword and URL combinations that are going to be long tail and evergreen. And as long as they match with your expertise, these would be awesome. And I will say there's nothing wrong with listicles. If you just don't know what to write, the 5 of the most beautiful this, or 10 of my favorite that, or the 15 most amazing pasta dishes to eat in Italy, nothing wrong with those. They actually get really good traffic. So let's just review a couple tips for choosing keywords. Number one, underline, bold. I should have put this in caps. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. You want to be specific. You want to focus on the long tail keywords. Nothing wrong with listicles. And I do want to mention here, because we are travel professionals, things are going to open up starting with road trips. People are itching to go traveling, and they're not going to be able to do international trips. And I think even domestic flights are going to be a little ways out. So if anybody on this webinar has an expertise in like national parks, or driving itineraries for the Northeast or California, or any of that, I would create content around that, because that is what people are going to be focusing on as soon as things start to open up around in the US. Okay, let's recap part 2. So here's your to-do list from part 2. Brainstorm topics based on your expertise. You want to narrow down your keywords to evergreen and that your customer is interested in, and you want to focus on long tail keywords. Okay, let's go to part 3. I hope people are not feeling like they're drinking out of a fire hose. As I said, we will totally hold your hand through all this. This is what we teach. This is what I've been doing for 20 years. It's how I built my Italy business. So I don't want you to feel like this is overwhelming. It's totally doable, totally doable. So when you've got your keywords, and we're going to talk about 9 tips for great online content now. So I do want to emphasize something, and I've always believed this: there is no such thing as a secret. So, you don't want to like post the phone number of your favorite whatever, wine tasting person in France. So, but you want to position yourself as an expert, and you need to share your expertise. So, and that's really important. Let's go to the next slide. You want to make yourself look like an expert. And because what's going to happen is people are going to find your content. They're going to say, wow, this is super useful. They're going to appreciate it. Then they're going to share it. And if they share it, it reaches more people, which will increase your SEO, which will move you higher up the list on Google. And also, if your content is useful, people will stay on your site longer, and they'll get to your call to action, which is where you say, I have a business, work with me. So it really is super important that you share your expertise. And you can go look at some of the blog posts on my site to see how much I share. I really, really try to be super useful. I'm going to go through the anatomy of a successful blog post. And this is something I'm going to go through pretty fast, because it's going to end with a checklist, so that when you do get to that content sharing place, you know exactly what to do. So let's go to the next slide. So this blog post has been shared 312 times, and I'm just going to take you through 9 things that I did to make this a successful blog post. So number 1, let's go to the next slide, and just click once, Steph. You can see the URL is my keyword. So my keyword, I chose Amalfi Coast towns where to stay, and I chose that as my URL. Number 2, let's go to the next slide, and just click once stuff. That tab there's a behind the scenes field called the meta page title, and you want that also to have your keyword in it. Number 3, let's go to the next slide. The images, as you saw, this image came up first on Google, and this is, they have behind the scenes tags on them so that Google knows what they are. Number 4, this blog post is very, very detailed. I think it's about 1,200 words. Number 5, you want to have skimmable content. Think about what you do when you go online, and you really want to skim the content and make sure that it's useful before you spend more time on it. Number 6, you want to have behind the scenes formatting of your headers and your subheaders. Number 7,
Well, really quickly, this is perfect because we had a question from Debbie Rogers coming in, and she was wondering, do you need specific headers for the blog to increase searches? She does blogs on countries she's visited, but she has them in buckets such as Europe, Asia, etc.
So I would create a URL that, like, let's say your website is fabulousvacations.com. You want it to be fabulousvacations.com/Europe/ you want it to be in the URL under that bucket. And maybe we can talk more about this offline, or at another time. She can schedule a call with me. Actually, I'd be happy to talk more about that.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to number 7.
Okay. Google loves bold text and italics. That helps Google understand what the key points are. Number 8, you want to link to yourself and link to other content that you've written about in your blog, which Google says that must be a good thing. And finally, number 9, you want to have a call to action, because you want this to be not just I'm giving you free content, and you are giving them free content, but it needs to be clear. I am a business. I provide a valuable service. Hire me. And that needs to be really, really clear. So the effects of this post are that I look like the expert. The content is useful, so people share it, which increases the SEO of the post. People stay on my site longer, which also increases the SEO of the post. And then people also realize, boy, there's a lot to consider here. They get overwhelmed, and then they're like, oh, Madeline can solve my problem, and then they hire me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the checklist. That is the summary of all the 9 things, and you guys are going to have that in your takeaway packet. So let's move on to part 4. In addition to creating content on your site, you need an online footprint, because here's the thing with an online business is people want to know they're working with a real person. So they're going to Google you. So you do need some information on your website, and let's just quickly review that. So you need a photo. There are lots of people that do not have photos of themselves on their websites. If you don't have a photo in your about page, put a photo on there, please. You need your story, your mission, your background. You need to be able to connect to the customer. You need an FAQ page, you need testimonials, and you need your blog. So that's on your website. But in addition, let's do this. You must be Googleable. Your customer, before they hire you, is going to go Google you. So I would say when you get off this webinar, go Google yourself. Just see what comes up. So here's an example of, I Googled myself, and this is what comes up for Madeline Jhawar. Now, I probably have an advantage because I think I might be the only Madeline Jhawar on the planet.
Yeah. But
start by Googling yourself as a benchmark now. And then when you do this work, see what comes up in 4 to 8 weeks. The next slide is an example of when you Google Italy Beyond the Obvious. So again, Google your business name, see what comes up, and then do it again after you get through some of this work. So it takes Google about 4 weeks to index this content, and everybody's sick of this coronavirus graph, but this is about the time that it takes for Google to index your content. So I recommend that you get started. Let's move to the next slide. So this is not a time to rest on your laurels. It's a time to get to work. And then here's your checklist of, after you have created this content, you want to test it, you want to send your content to your subscribers, you share it, promote yourself online. And then here, after you have content, is where you might want to spend money to promote it. You create an editorial calendar and you monitor your results. And again, like for those of you that join our training, we will help you with all of this. But the net result, let's go to the next slide. The net result is incredible. I mean, think about this. At the end of your, when travel comes back online, you've built an audience, you've established your expertise, customers are finding you online, you're solving their problem, you have a call to action so they know they can hire you, and you have more customers. And not only do you have more customers finding you, but this is something that you're going to have, for the future. It's another leg to your business that will persist and stay. So are you excited? I know this seems like a lot. You can do this. So how many of you want to take the toll road to your destination and not the slow road? I'd love to work with you and give you the exact roadmap and hold your hand. And so you'll get the notes for this webinar, but we'd love to have you guys join us in a 4-week program that we're doing. So the 8-week course that we do at Travel Beyond the Obvious is $1,500. It's 8 lessons. It's 10 hours of video. But this short pop-up course is just lesson 2. It's just about how to find customers online. We're doing it May 11th to June 7th. The URL is at the bottom, and we'll throw it in the chat for anyone who wants to join. And just to go over what we're going to do in this 4-week pop-up, just go to the next slide. So week 1 will help you lay the foundations and you're set up with the basics. Week 2, we're going to help you position yourself as the expert, and we'll help you with keywords based on your experience. Week 3, we're going to get to work, and we're going to help you create some amazing online content. And then week 4 will help you evaluate and improve your online footprint. In addition, let's go to the next slide. You'll have a private Facebook group with a supportive community, and the Travel Beyond the Obvious participants that are on this webinar can attest that the community is really amazing. We'll do weekly training videos for the content that you watch at your convenience, and we'll do private Q&A sessions in the private group twice a week to help everyone along with specific questions. I would emphasize that most importantly, at the end of this, you'll have tangible, meaningful results that will have a lasting impact in just 4 weeks. So because of everything going on in the world, we're charging $249 for this, which is, I know our Travel Beyond the Obvious people on here are like, what? We really want to help you. And, it's a price of a couple of dinners out or a bunch of Starbucks for those of you who might still be able to go to Starbucks. So I want to wrap this up now. Next, if you want to schedule an implementation call with me, if you have any questions, we'll throw the link in the chat there. And I just want to talk about, before we finish, where you can find us. So we have a website, travelbeyondtheobvious.com. We have a Facebook page, Travel BTO. You can reach out to me and connect on LinkedIn at Madeline Jhawar. And guess what? As of 2 days ago, we have a podcast called the Travel Business Owners Podcast for, guess what? Travel business owners, just like you. And by the way, we are currently reaching out to guests. So if anybody on here is interested in being a guest on our podcast, reach out and schedule a call with me, please. We've had 2 episodes, and we've already been at a house in rural England. We've been to Ibiza. We've talked about the Camino de Santiago, and we've learned about conscious travel.
Is it only on Italy, or this is any business owner?
Any travel business owner. It's actually not about Italy at all. So anybody who has a travel business, who owns a travel business, or is building a travel business, or is thinking about building a travel business, isn't sure what that would entail. So we talk to people who actually are building travel businesses, and we talk to people who are involved in the travel world and might help travel business owners build their businesses.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're super excited. And I would really like to say thank you so much, you guys, to the HAR team, to April and Bridget and Steph, for making this happen. We really appreciate it. I mean, HAR offers some of the best content on the web for anyone in the travel space, and we're really honored to be a part of this community. So I hope you like the webinar, and I think we have time for questions.
Yes, I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can see you again. Woo! There's everybody.
Here we are.
Well, so I just kind of want to make a few comments because as with HAR, we're very strategic too in our SEO approach. And, we do very long form content when we're writing articles. And so for any of our readers that are on here, when you're reading HAR and the things you like about host agency reviews, how in-depth things are, and kind of that feeling that you get when you read our site, use that for inspiration for your agency. Because the idea when I started HAR a long time ago was that because it started from these questions people were asking me. So for all the agency owners that are out there, the repeated questions you're getting from your client, like how long does it take to go through Mexican customs? Or, like any question like that, like write an article on it. Because not only, if you're not pulling up for #1 in search, the thing that it's going to help you do is save your mind so that you can like put that in your template email that goes out. Or if someone asks, say, here's a quick answer, but I'm going to shoot you an email with a link to something more in depth. Because you're very right, Madeline, in that you do it once and it just keeps working and working and working for you, which is what's brilliant about online marketing if you're doing it right. So we do have a note from Gazelle Jacobs saying that she loved the webinar. So thanks for tuning in, Gazelle.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that.
That was great to hear. Madeline, I was wondering if you could chat with us a little bit, because your opt-in on the site is you're attracting like travelers, but you're also probably attracting people that are bad drivers because your opt-in is for driving in Italy. Can you talk a little bit more about how that works and what agencies should be thinking about?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And it's actually something that we talked about in our Travel Beyond the Obvious course. It was one of the topics on our Facebook private group last week. And so the opt-in, I have a free Driving in Italy ebook. And the way that I created that was based on I noticed that a lot of the blog posts that I had written about driving in Italy were getting the most traffic. And so over the years, I would write more blog posts on driving in Italy because it was getting more traffic. And then I realized I have 10 blog posts. I have one on Italian street signs and one on Italian limited traffic zones and one on Italian how to rent a car. And I was like, oh, I could just put these all together and make an ebook. And that's my giveaway. And so I get quite a few signups for my email list. It's a free ebook, and the pop-up says enter your email list, your email address here, and get my ebook. And it works really well. So I would recommend that people look at their website, look at which blog posts are doing the best, and that's basically how people are finding your website, and then see if you can make some kind of sign-ups for my email list. It's a free ebook, and
where's that? Oh, there we go. Okay, so we've got a question from Sand Art Travel. When posting content, should you only use your photos, or is there a source for non-copyrighted photos to use?
That's a really good question. Rebecca, do you want to answer that? Rebecca is a professional travel writer. I don't know if I mentioned that, in addition to an Italy trip planner.
That is an excellent question. I noticed that, and I was hoping that we would discuss it. You need to be very careful with photos, with copyright photos. That said, you're lucky because there is actually a huge pool of photos out there that you can use, and they're very easy to find. You can go to Flickr, there's a drop-down menu, and you can choose to see only photos that you can use for commercial purposes. Remember that your blog will be for commercial purposes. So any photo that you use that is not yours, you need to make sure that it is licensed for commercial purposes. And usually you have to put whoever took the photo, you have to give them credit. So underneath the photo, in parentheses, you can say, this photo was taken by Jane Smith, and I found it on Flickr. You can also do that with Wikimedia Commons. You can even do it with a Google image search. So don't freak out if you are writing a blog post about Disneyland, but you actually didn't have great photos from the time you were there because it was raining. There are a plethora of photos that you'll be able to find, but do be very, very careful, because it is something you can be sued on, strangely, and people have been. So do not use photos, absolutely do not use photos that are not yours and that you do not have permission to use. That said, don't panic about it. You can almost always find photos, unless you're writing about something really, really niche. You can almost always find really good quality photos. Also, backup plan, you can buy stock photos. Stock photos are fantastic. My only caveat about stock photos, if all of the photos on your blog and on your website are very lovely photos that you've taken yourself, and then every once in a while you throw in this amazing stock photo, it really outshines your own photos. So try to kind of manage the quality of the photos. So more or less, they're either all over the top, crazy, beautiful stock images, or they're all just very nice photos that you've taken yourself. Because if there's a mix, it's sort of if you're watching a movie and some of the actors are amazing and some of them are just kind of okay, it's distracting.
Yeah, we'll link in the comments too. We have an article on finding free images for your blog post, and link to places like Pixel and a bunch of other places. So, so we have a question on for your 4-hour week class, or your class. How often would you meet each week?
So it's 4 weeks, and we basically there's a topic for each week. And on Monday, we will release a video. It's usually a 30 to 45-minute video with the topic of that week that people watch on their own. And then it's all in the private Facebook group. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we jump on and do live Q&A based on that content. And then in the Facebook group, the participants support each other, and our Travel Beyond the Obvious participants will tell you it's fantastic for community, for momentum, for accountability, and for just, you'll get stuff done. So it's a half an hour Monday of your own time, whenever. And then if you can attend the live Q&A is great. If you can't attend them, people send us questions in advance and we deal with the questions. And then you can always watch the video, the Q&A afterwards. And then I'm also doing for this HAR group, I'm also doing a complimentary call, one-on-one calls with everyone.
Perfect. So we have 2 more questions. Can we apply our content strategy outside of Google, any other search engines?
I think so.
Yes. You definitely.
Steph, you can. Okay.
Yeah. What you do for Google is going to work. It's going to be for Bing, which is the only one you really need to worry about. So then last question is, do you have any recommendations for an SEO company?
Yes. Yes, definitely. I wonder whether we should do that offline. There are many of them. I'll give a shout out to Houndstooth Media. A friend of mine, Vivian Wagner, runs that company. It does. I would want to talk to you a little bit more about your specific needs, so what stage you're at, what you're looking for. Are you super sophisticated and you want to take it to that real next level, or are you just starting out and you need like the top 10 things? Because they can be really expensive and you want to get a return for your investment. So,
yeah. Well, we hit 1 o'clock. So thank you, Madeline, for the presentation and going over those things that agencies can do during our downtime. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I want to mention that we do have some webinars coming up. On May 14th, we released our fee report for hosted agents and independent contractors. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out on our blog. over 50% of agents for the first time are charging fees, which is really exciting. But we'll go over all the trends on a webinar on May 14th, which you can see on our events calendar. And we've got a whole slew of webinars we're working on to bring host agencies on and talk about the future of travel and what hosts are doing and consortia are doing to help out agencies during these tough times. So make sure to keep an eye on our events calendar. We have lots more live events coming up. Until then, everybody, well, no one's going to be doing anything too exciting, but hopefully your isolation isn't too horrible and you can have lots of chocolate chip cookies or something. So thank you, everybody.